Alright guys, welcome back to SkyCon the Finder. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit of fantasy football draft 2022 style. I'm coming at you guys. I got some, first we're going to start with some players that I think you should avoid, at least where they're going in the drafts. And some players I think you can get for really good value that are kind of dropping. And then I'm going to go over the QBs, wide receivers, tight ends, and running back positions, who I got ranked as my top 5 guys that I would be targeting. Players to avoid. All right, so first, one player I'm going to start off with right off the board, just Daniel Jones at quarterback. 100%. There's no reason if you're in a 10, 12, maybe even a 14-man league, why Daniel Jones should be on anybody's roster. There may not even be a rookie starting this year. Pickett may win that job. Who knows? But to start the season, it's potential that there's not even going to be a rookie starting this year. You talk about 32 veterans starting. Daniel Jones is probably the worst. All right. So outside of that, we move forward. Amon-Ra St. Brown. A lot of people are thinking this guy had an incredible second half last year. So did I. I thought he was great. I thought he was going to be great. Here's what happened. Hawkinson got hurt. He's going to be back. The Lions went out and they signed DJ Chark. Chark's going to be great. Dan Campbell continues to talk nothing about Quintez Cephas. And on top of that, they took a wide receiver in the first round. So there is going to be a lot of people getting involved. I'm not sure Amon-Ra St. Brown is the top guy on the Lions next year. And for that reason, he's going in, I think the 4th round, 5th round right now. That is just too early to take him. There's a lot of receivers dropping underneath of him that I'll get to in a minute that you should take instead. Then, Antonio Gibson. I also would not draft this guy unless he dropped probably to the 8th round or something. He's been good his first 2 years. His rookie year is incredible. So you would think, okay, this guy's the guy, right? But the problem is they re-signed McKissick. And then they went out and they drafted a rookie running back. And that rookie running back is supposed to be getting the goal line touches. If he gets the goal line touches, that's the touchdowns. If McKissick's getting the scat back passes, all Gibson gets is a few running plays, first and second downs, and the occasional touchdown maybe if he gets a big play. Which means he loses a lot of value. So I would avoid him on my teams. I'm not saying he can't have a good year, but if he does not get those goal line touches, he is almost worthless as a running back. Then, Devin Singletary. This guy was going, I think he's going around the 5th or 6th round right now. I wouldn't touch him at all. I project Cook will take that starting job eventually, or end up being the guy who gets the monster share of the carries, and Zach Moss is still there as well. I would not touch Cook with a 10-foot pole. Moving forward, T. Higgins. T. Higgins is going literally early 2nd round. There is no reason for that. While the Bengals will be good, while he will be another 1,000-yard receiver, there's a lot of receivers or even running backs that you take before you take T. Higgins. T. Higgins is a great receiver, don't get me wrong, but he is not a top 10 receiver, and he does not go in the early 2nd round. That is insane. So if you're in the early 2nd round, you do not take T. Higgins. Now, if you drop down to around 4 or 5, maybe, but not in the top 3 for sure. Next is again at receiver, Jamar Jefferson. This is the number 2 ranked guy going into fantasy, and he may be the number 2 ranked guy. Possibly. He may even finish with the most points in fantasy. Who knows? But it is a lot harder to get points at running back and consistent points at running back. If your first round pick is anything other than a running back, unless you're in the back end and you take your tight end, you do not take a receiver in the first round. That is insane. Justin Jefferson will have a great year. He definitely is a 2nd rounder, late 2nd rounder, but he is not the 2nd overall pick, and there's no way he should go in first. Then, George Swift. Swift is a pretty good back, but he's going way too early. Swift is going in the 20s, around 25, something like that. Here's the thing. The Lions have a pretty good running back core. Williams is healthy this year, so he's going to get some of those touches. Jamar Jefferson could get more touches. Igbuke, or however you say that guy's name, he's going to get touches too. That's going to take a lot from his production. I think Swift's a good running back, don't get me wrong. But he's not going to get the production that you're drafting that early. So there's no way you take him that early. You can get him, 6, 7. That's a great pick. All right, Michael Pittman. This guy's going in the 30s. Again, just like T. Higgins, that's way too early. There are guys that are going to have better seasons than these guys going in the 80s. In the 80s. So there's no way you take Pittman in the 30s. Pittman probably won't even be a top 20 wide receiver. Maybe 2015, maybe. but there are definitely guys that I know that are better going later. And then Breece Hall for the Jets. Running back is in the 30s. And I just think that's a little early to draft a running back that has so many unanswered questions. He's supposed to be good. I mean, he's supposed to be great, right? His combine was off the charts. His skill level off the charts. But here's the thing. Michael Carter absolutely killed it last year. And that warrants touches. There's no way Carter doesn't get at least 10 touches a game. And if he's not, that's crazy because he was way too productive to not get them. So Hall getting those drafted in the 30s, you're talking 3rd round. I don't see that. I just can't do that. And then at tight end, we have Dalton Schultz. Schultz is going over guys like Gesicki, Hawkinson, and a few other guys that there's just no way you take Dalton Schultz over guys like that. And he's going in the 60s at tight end. I can't see that, especially when Kittle's dropping to the 5th. There's no way you take Schultz in the 6th. Or in the 60s. It just doesn't happen. So now that's my 10 guys I would definitely avoid from where they're at in their drafts. If you can get them a few rounds later, go ahead. Daniel Jones being the only one I absolutely wouldn't touch at quarterback, and Gibson at running back. I just would not touch them. Now, we're going to go into players that you should be able to get in the later rounds that are dropping that should be steals. Right? So here we go. Started off, we'll just start right here with Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's going in the 70s. Hall in the 30s, Kareem Hunt in the 70s. We know the Browns are going to run. We know their quarterback situation is a little sketchy. Chubb's been hurt a few times every year he plays. Hunt should have some good games. Kareem Hunt in the 70s, that's a steal. Right here, I think this is going to be my steal of the draft. I predict this guy to be a top 5 quarterback. Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is going in the 80s. That's a steal. You can get Jalen Hurts in the 80s. You take him, right? I mean, that guy, he might be a top 5. I think he's going to be a top 5. He runs. He's got A.J. Brown now to throw to. You go out, you get Jalen Hurts in the 8th round. You can get him. And then we got a couple of receivers all going in the 80s that are going to be better than Amon-Ra St. Brown and Pittman. DK Metcalf. I know a lot of people are like, who's throwing the ball? Doesn't matter. He's going to be the emphasis of the offense. DK Metcalf. Gabriel Davis will have an absolute monster year compared to where he's going. In the 80s, this guy just had 4 touchdowns last year. He's killing it in preseason right now. Emmanuel Sanders is gone. Cole Beasley is gone. Gabriel Davis is the number 2. So again, him going in the 80s, he should be good. I might take DK over him. I don't know, but still him in the 80s is a robbery. And so is Jerry Judy. Jerry Judy in the 80s, he may end up being Russell Wilson's favorite target. Tim Patrick just went down. You still got Cortland Sutton. Sutton may be the number 1 choice. Judy being the slot receiver, but Judy had a lot of drops last year, and I think that's going to change because, Dangerous throws with touch. When he throws the ball, it's just a very catchable ball, and I think that's going to transition very well for Jerry Judy. So all those guys will be great. And coming right next to that, Russell Wilson is going in the 80s too. I would take Jalen Hurts over Wilson because Wilson doesn't run anymore, but Wilson in the 80s is a really good pick. Stay up there in those rounds. Don't draft a QB 4 and 5. You can get Wilson or Hurts in the 8th round. You can get yourself a good running back or receiver up there and steal these guys there. Then, this is going to be a steal, I think. Now, this is mostly me going out on a limb here, but Kenneth Walker for the Seattle Seahawks is going in the 80s again, late 80s, 8th round guy. Here's the thing. Kenneth Walker could end up being the starting running back and getting the lion's share of the touches for Seattle. That is a very possible thing because Rashad Penny gets hurt a lot. He was the best back the last 4 weeks of the year last year, but that's an asterisk. Now, I think regardless of Penny gets hurt or not, I think Walker still gets touches. And Kenneth Walker still gets touches. He gets used as a scat back guy. He runs a 4.3. He's going to be fast, quick. He's going to be elite, I think. And if Penny goes down, that could be the guy. Getting him down there in the 80s to be a guy who's going to get a lion's share of touches potentially, talking 20 touches a game, that's a steal. Then you got another guy who dropped all the way down. This guy's going around 110 to 120. Michael Carter. I know I said Breece Hall going 30 was too early, but Michael Carter going around way down there after round 10, that's insane. He was way too productive to drop that low. And then you got his teammate who's dropping too, Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore looked like he was going to be the lead receiver for the Jets last year. He struggled with a few injuries, but he looked like the lead receiver. In practice so far in preseason, he's been the lead receiver. Nothing for me to believe other than the fact that Elijah Moore is going to be the number 1 receiver on the Jets, so you draft him. And you draft him probably a lot earlier than he's going. So that comes to the final pick, my late round draft deals. There's a guy right here. His name's Allen Lazard. He's going at 94. Allen Lazard, number 1 receiver in Green Bay. 94. Aaron Rodgers, multiple times MVP winning quarterback. Some people think he's the best thrower of the football they've ever seen. His number 1 receiver is going 94. That's insane. You don't take guys like T. Higgins and them up there in round 2 when you can get a guy like Allen Lazard. Allen Lazard will have a better fantasy year than T. Higgins, mark my words. And you're getting him 7 rounds later. That's a steal. You take that. And now that we've gone over that, let me give you some juice to Bruce. This is where you should be drafting. This is kind of what I'd say you should order your things around. For quarterbacks, this is my 1 through 5 where I'm ranking them. Josh Allen, 1. I think Josh Allen's a man. I think he kind of solidified that last year. This is his league, right? It's his league to give away. He should be the MVP favorite. Josh Allen. Number 2, Justin Herbert. He's coming for him. Herbert's played great. If his coach didn't go for it on, 4th and 1 inside their 15, they'd probably win some ball games. You can't just go for it when if you turn the ball over in the other team's red zone. That doesn't make any sense. But that's what his coach did, and there was no reason for it. He does things like that when there's 3 quarters left. It doesn't make any sense. If Herbert's had a better coach, he could win a lot more ball games. But I think he's going to produce absolute stats. I think he's going to have over 40 touchdown throws this year. And he's probably going to bring around 5 rushing touchdowns. So take that. Then Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts will probably get you around 10 rushing touchdowns. He's not going to have as many passing, but he's going to have over 4,000 passing yards. And he's going to have over 10 rushing touchdowns. Probably 5, 6, 700 rushing. That's QB3 in my book. Then you got Kyler Murray. More or less, probably similar production, but he's coming off an injury. So because he's coming off an injury, I just put him right below Hurts. But I think Kyler Murray's going to ball out too. Next one, Lamar Jackson, former MVP. He's kind of regressed since then, coming off an injury as well. But one thing's for sure, he's going to run. He'll probably rush for over, if he stays healthy, over 1,000 yards, no problem. Is he going to have all the passing touchdowns? Who knows? Who knows? I almost put Patrick Mahomes there, but again, this is fantasy football. It's not about who I think's the better player in the NFL. It's about who's going to produce the most fantasy points. In no world do I think Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, or Hurts are better than Patrick Mahomes, but I do think they're going to produce more fantasy points this season. Moving over to wide receiver. Number 1, I know I said you're drafting this guy too early. Justin Jefferson. I just don't think you take a receiver in the first round, but I do think he's the first receiver that should come off the board. Then Jamar Chase, definitely the second receiver. This is going to be tough because I think Jefferson's going to lead the league in yards, do what he does. He may even chase a 2,000-yard season in 17 games. But Jamar Chase will have a lot more catches. I mean, that's what you get. And who's going to get the touchdowns? If I had to predict, Chase probably gets more touchdowns. But, man, Jefferson's a beast. Then we got to go with Cooper Kupp. All right, Cooper Kupp. Nothing to believe that he's not going to be a top fiver. He was the number 1 guy last year, but I think some guys are going to take a step up, and it's hard to mirror 2 great seasons like that back-to-back. It's never happened. Probably won't happen. So Cooper Kupp's got to take a little bit of a step back, and that's where I predict him to be right there at 3rd. At number 4, you got to have a guy in here who plays for the guy that I think's the best quarterback in the league, Stephon Diggs. I think Diggs will have a monster season. He's going to be a top 5 receiver, I think. Of course, everything's pending staying healthy, but Diggs should be just fine. And then underneath that, this guy got a bit of a knock. Maybe it'd been a little bit higher if he still played for Aaron Rodgers. But Devontae Adams. I think Devontae Adams is a top receiver. We'll see where he does with Derek Carr. He played with him in college. Should be okay. But it's an unknown. So he goes at 5. But if he was with Aaron Rodgers, there's a good chance he's at number 1. All right, moving into tight end. Right here at tight end, this is a no-brainer. Travis Kelce. Everybody knows that. Number 2, Mark Andrews. Some people may take him first. You might not be wrong. But here's the thing. Mark Andrews put up all those big monster games last year when Huntley was his quarterback, not with Jackson. It was with Huntley. Jackson is now going to be the starter. I think, Andrews comes down to tight end 2 because of that. If Huntley was throwing the ball here, I'd probably take Andrews number 1. Then at number 3, I got Kyle Pitts. Maybe a surprise. Some people might have thought it was number 4, Kittle. But I got Pitts over him. I think Pitts gets the touchdowns. Last year he only had 1 touchdown. He should have a lot more this year, and he finally has a receiver to help him out. Then at number 5, this was a tough one. I had to swing between this one. I had to go between Hawkinson and Waller. I went Hawkinson because I think Hawkinson has a lot more attempts coming his way, right? Waller's got Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow. I think it's a little bit better receiving core than what Hawkinson has. Hawkinson may be the lead guy there in Detroit, and so I got to put Hawkinson at 5. But it was between him and Waller. And at running backs, again, this is fantasy, so I see no reason to put anybody over Christian McCaffrey, whether he's healthy or not. I write these down assuming everybody stays healthy. Christian McCaffrey healthy, I don't think there's anybody better for fantasy football. He's going to get you 1,000 yards receiving and 1,000 yards rushing. A lot of catches, a lot of fantasy points. Gotta be. Then Jonathan Taylor. This guy could push 2,000 yards again. We'll see what happens. I actually don't think Matt Ryan's an upgraded quarterback over Carson Wentz. I think he's vaguely similar. I don't know if that's an upgrade, but Jonathan Taylor should still have a great season. He has a great O-line. And Quentin Nelson should be healthy all year. At number 3, maybe a shocker, but I'm going Najee Harris. I think Najee Harris, he had a game last year. He had like almost 20 catches, like 17, I think. That's insane. That is ridiculous. He may be playing with a rookie quarterback, and he may be playing with the Mitchell Trubisky. We don't know. But I do know he's going to get fed. This guy's going to eat cake. I got him at number 3. And the reason I got Derrick Henry at number 4 is because he's coming off an injury. I don't know how he's going to produce well. He's a big man. He should be great. I'm sure he's still going to put up over 1,500 rush yards, over 10 touchdowns if he stays healthy. That's awesome. But I think Najee Harris is just going to get more touches, more catches. And at number 5, Austin Eckler. Scat back in NFL and in fantasy. Scat back is the king. So Eckler should get a lot of pass catches, probably get a lot of touchdowns. Did great last year. Nothing tells me different. And there it is. That's my fantasy football take. Take my word for it. Win your fantasy league. You're welcome.